And sometimes I feel that she's in denial on what happened to her, where
Right.
she don't totally understand that there's something,
That there are changes.
there's changes, and
Right.
then when I talk about it, she gets very mad.
Mm-hmm.
And she acts different when I'm with people and without people. And
That's-
she's getting steamy now.
That's in my brochure. That's in my brochure. It's not you. I promise it's not you. So we're straying away a little bit from the topic of kids, but I'm going to address that and then bring it back to the kids, okay? Because I always tell the families I work with, you are living with the same illness. You are traveling two completely different journeys. Totally different journeys. And if you have resources, I would pull in your resources and have those conversations because they are valid and they are real. And I'm going to be very frank. Some folks who have a tumor recognize when you have blown a fuse, forgotten something, you know, done something differently than you would have before the tumor. But sometimes the tumor makes it so that you lose that ability to recognize those things in yourself. So then your spouse and your kids are left with, you know, mom or dad's different, but they don't get it that it's different. And it makes it really challenging. And that's where I think we can cover this much of that in this talk. But I have to say, you're dealing with what I hear every day, 4 and 5 times a day from the families with whom I work, and that's where I think you need to pull in your social worker, your other support folks, if you can find a local counselor to help you and your family deal with your unique issues, because you're not alone. You are so not alone, but it feels so isolating. And then the kids are picking up on when mom and dad don't agree.
I was just going to say, maybe it's address the dissension that happens in that situation and how
it affects the
to
kids.
not let that affect the kids,
Right.
because that's not going to be solved right away.
And it's hard for it not to affect the kids, because I'm going to make a statement and I'm wondering how many nods I'll see, but kids learn pretty quickly whose memory is good, whose memory is not so good, who's going to yell quicker, who's going to stay calm, those kinds of things. And so what I hear time and time again is that kids tend to start going around the parent who has the tumor to the parent who doesn't have the tumor, because that feels more safe and more normal. And then if you're the person with the tumor, and I'm putting some really hard topics out here that are hard to hear and to sort of own, but if you're the person with the tumor, it's like I'm losing my role as parent. I used to be able to parent these children, and now they're going around me to my spouse because the kids are picking up on these changes, and that's hard. And that's where I can acknowledge and validate your experience and say you are not alone. But to go further with that, I think you need local resources to help you, even if it's a community counselor. Wendy can only do so much. And you have to keep your family rules. I don't care if your memory's bad. I don't care if you are short-fused. I don't care what has changed in you because of your tumor. You should expect your children to respect adults to the level that you had before this diagnosis. And different families have different levels. The other hard reality is that life is different and will always be different. And you may get back to being the person you were before. You may get back to being very close to the person you were before, or you may not get back to being the person you were before. It varies widely depending on where the tumor is, what medications you have to take, your personality before the tumor, all sorts of things. So my answer is you can only do the best you can do. And there is, you know, I always tell people when I give them this brochure, there is no magic. There's no magic. There's only the best you can do. And the best you can do may be what we've just talked about, and it may not feel good enough to you. And you can decide as a family, if it doesn't feel good enough to you, that you want to get family counseling to try to improve your family dynamics, because sometimes that helps. Or you may decide you're going to work harder at home, but it is hard for kids, once a pattern is set up, to go back to the way it used to be. But what I don't know is, well, are you the same person you were before? Or are the kids really still noticing some subtle differences, which is sort of swinging them to continue to go around to their mom instead of you?
This is just from experience. I don't think it can be all or nothing. I think it has to constantly be a swing and allow the children to kind of, whatever their comfort level is at that moment. You have to maybe redirect them back to Mike.
Right.
And when the days, when he's doing fabulous, there you go.
Go ask Dad, or go play with Dad.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to do it all.
Right, right.
You know, I don't. And so go there. You may have to tell them that. It's okay.
And I think that's a perfect point, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I did not think of that. But the adult family member, whether it's a spouse or another relative who does not have the tumor, can help re-educate and redirect the kids.
And pull them back sometimes when the day isn't going that great.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because it's never going to stay the same. I think it's going to fluctuate.
It's very fluid. It is very fluid. Absolutely.